Hello and welcome to I Am Geek. This is episode 281. I'm Ryan, joined by my brother Chris and our good pal Katrin.
Heyo.
How you guys doing tonight? It's so good to be back here with the two of you.
Fantastic.
Aww, you're so sweet.
Yeah, last week we were on Living with the Land Speeder, so you can go check out that if you want to, where we Star Warsified Disney attractions. But this week we're back with I Am Geek, and I'm so excited because we're just going to jump into it. I think we are going to be talking about
One Piece.
Mandalorian.
Ahsoka. Oh God! I like text the guys. I tell them what we're going to talk about,
I'm gonna be King of the Pirates.
and then they just completely go off script.
What we do.
Anyways,
That's
we're going to talk
why you love
Ahsoka.
us.
We're going to talk Ahsoka, and we are 3 episodes into Ahsoka because we were off last week when it started, and they dropped the first 2, which was crazy. They dropped the first one and the second one. The first one was like around about an hour, like 51 minutes.
Yes.
And then the second one was like 40 something minutes. And then the third one was 38 minutes.
Yeah.
So by the end of this series, it's going to be like a 5-minute show.
Yeah, it's just like super quick.
This week I was like, what? It can't be over.
I know. It keeps going down. Yeah. But I'm just going to go right out and say it. I think this show is fantastic. And if they keep it up, this is going to be my favorite Star Wars show they put out. Like, better than The Mandalorian? Yes, for me. I've loved it so far. I've loved it so much. And I'm a big fan of Rebels, the show, and we'll get into that. But seeing those characters in live action, been amazing. Yeah. Been amazing. But that's a question that I wanted to start with, and we'll get into the Rebel side of it. But knowing, Katrin, that you have not watched Rebels.
Yeah.
Do you?
Not much of it.
Is this show enjoyable for someone who hasn't watched Rebels?
Definitely.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's. I think of it like any other show where you're kind of jumping into a story, right? The characters are there and they'll work their way in to introduce them. I guess having watched a little bit of Rebels and Clone Wars, then I've got an idea of who they are, or at least their names, and I've seen them before. But also think of it kind of like, what's the show that they had that's the previous Star Wars show that wasn't Mandalorian? What's the other one? That was no, not Book of Boba Fett. The one that's Rogue One. The people from Rogue One. It's so memorable. Andor, thank you. So Andor, we knew a couple of the characters, right? But we didn't know most of them, and it was fine. I mean, so I equate it to that, some way. But it's been enjoyable. But maybe if I didn't, I don't know. I still think I would enjoy it because it's just, again, like any other show, you're gonna have characters you've never seen before, but I don't feel like I don't know enough about them. So.
Cool. And Chris, you've seen Rebels.
I have seen Rebels, so I know the characters and everything, and my wife is watching, and she didn't, of course, watch Rebels, so she'll have an occasional question on like, should I know who that is? That thing. And that could either be that she just like wonders if they're from the TV show, or she looked on her phone and stopped paying attention. So I'm not really sure when she asked that question, which it is. So.
My wife, I asked, I was like, my wife. I said, Ahsoka, the new Ahsoka show's coming out. Would you like to watch it tonight? And she broke my heart. She the words that came out of her mouth were, I'm sort of Star Wars out. And I was like, whoa.
That's what I was going to say.
I was like, Star Wars out. It's like, yeah, it's just been too many Star Wars stuff. So.
Oh, man.
Which she didn't. I don't think she watched Andor, to tell you the truth.
My wife didn't watch it, and she didn't watch. I don't think she watched Obi-Wan.
We haven't finished Andor.
But she was all excited about watching this, and she's enjoyed it. So.
And I'm like, so after I watched the first 2, I was like, she's like, so did you watch your show? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, it was so good. I was just like, it was so amazing. You should watch it. And she's like, I don't know, I'm just sort of Star Wars fan. And I kidded her. I said, "Are you at that age now? Have you reached that stage in life where it's like Hallmark movies and stuff like that?"
Oh no,
HGTV.
Yeah. It's like, no, I was just watching Sweet Magnolias or something like that.
Oh yes.
And I'm like, oh, you're at that stage.
Yep.
Stage.
Yeah.
She's
Anyway.
45 already, right?
No, she's.
I know, I'm just kidding.
I'm 45.
I know.
She's 82.
My wife and her friends were watching it this week. They were at the house, so during the day. They're older than we are.
Yeah, my wife will still watch like Love Island or whatever.
Love Island.
So like I want her to watch it, but I think if she watched it, she'd be like, because she hadn't seen Rebels, she'd be like, who are these people? Like,
see, I need to ask my wife because she hasn't said anything about like who's that, who's this, who's that, because she's never watched those at all. Like I've at least seen a little bit, but even then, I don't really know I don't know the characters really.
Yeah,
like I know Ahsoka a little bit, but more so from what I've seen on the show or from Mandalorian. You know, the brief we saw her there. So. Then the other ones, I wouldn't really know their characters that well. So, and it's been fine. I think she's, like I say, she's enjoyed it. She's not asked any questions about it. So I think it's fine.
Well, for those that I thought what we could do, for those that haven't watched Rebels, like Adrian and our wives, I thought I could give, and Chris can chime in too, a little rundown of Rebels, just sort of a, like those videos you see on YouTube. Yeah. Here's Rebels in 4 minutes. Yeah. So I thought we could give like a little rundown. We saw we saw another character from Rebels in live action in the Mandalorian, right? It was the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Right? They're all sort of running together.
Yeah.
Which was Chris?
Zeb.
Yeah. And I thought Zeb is a character from Rebels, which I thought they did a fantastic job with him. I was hoping
he's a 3D character.
More of him. Okay, so basically Rebels is a ragtag bunch of people that sort of got thrown together and ended up joining the rebellion. You have Kanan, who was a Padawan during Order 66, but he escaped. Yes. He is now sort of a secret like Jedi in Rebels. He keeps his lightsaber with him, but he has it in pieces, so nobody knows it's a lightsaber. He meets up with Hera. Him and Hera are running together, right? And Zeb.
Yes.
And Chopper. Sabine with them at the beginning? I don't remember.
Sabine is with them,
at the beginning. So they do like runs and smuggling and all kinds of stuff. And then they come across a boy named Ezra on Lothal, he's sort of like, if you think of Aladdin, sort of the street rat. There's actually a whole scene in like one of the first episodes of Rebels where it was like that scene from Aladdin. One jump ahead of another, one step ahead of the rest. Stealing stuff from the Empire stuff. And their stormtroopers are singing, and it's not really. If it was a musical, Chris wouldn't have watched it.
That's true.
So they sort of, he ends up coming under their wing. We find out he's force sensitive. He's beginning to be trained by Kanan, sort of Kanan's Padawan. And if you think about it, Kanan, sort of his life, he's what the Jedi. It turns out, really, by the end of his life, which sadly he does tragically die at the last spoilers. Sorry, of the last season of Rebels, but he sort of becomes what the Jedi should have been all along. Do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, he
a perfect balance, sort of, and he finds the right way to find love versus Anakin, who goes to the
Yeah,
dark side to find love.
him and Hera have a little thing.
They fall
which
deeply in love,
there's
and we find out they have
resulting
a
in a
child.
child.
Yeah,
Jason.
Jason, who
Jason.
appears in live action in
Yeah.
Yes,
Ahsoka.
last episode.
So at one point, Kanan even becomes blind in Rebels, and he
The blind master.
the blind master, still training. At one point, Sabine, which is a Mandalorian that's with them, acquires the dark saber. She starts training with the dark saber.
Yeah, her lineage would put her as the lead of the Mandalorians.
Yeah,
at one point, but she's the one that gives the dark saber to what's her face
to
Bo-Katan or
Bo-Katan.
Yeah, gives it. She's the one that gives it to her, which she didn't win it in combat, so that's what made her kind of iffy as the leader to begin with, and then it was stolen from her. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, and another thing that's important in Rebels is where we meet the Loth Wolves, which come alongside Ezra and Kanan. Sort of, it doesn't really come out and say it, but Kanan, after his passing, sort of embodies the Doom Loth Wolf, which can travel to the world between worlds, which we see in Rebels, which is where that comes in. World between worlds is sort of like a gateway to different points in time, sort of. It's weird. It's hard to explain in very quickly. You can look that up. And then that's also Rebels is where we first see, not in the book, but in the actual visual, Thrawn. Thrawn becomes the big bad guy in Rebels. So we end Rebels with Kanan sacrifices himself to save the rest of them. And then Ezra sort of traps Thrawn on a ship that's surrounded by Purgles, which is the big whales that you see in episode 3. And they can go between galaxies pretty much.
Yeah, they can jump into hyperspace.
Yeah, hyperspace. And they can go, which hasn't been done before, or hasn't been. When we see people go into hyperspace in Star Wars, they're going in the same galaxy, but these Purgles can go to different galaxies, and it's these hyperspace lanes that they've sort of opened up. Which some people acquire that long ago in Star Wars lore and stuff, so they can do that. So he traps Thrawn in the ship, and these Purgles surround him, and they grasp the ship, and they take Ezra and Thrawn somewhere else, to a different galaxy at the end of Rebels, and that's sort of how it ends Ezra's story in Rebels. And then it wraps up. The very end scene is Ahsoka coming to meet Sabine, saying, "Let's go find Ezra," which in the new Ahsoka show, they redo that scene so it lines up with Rebels, so we know sort of how the timeline is for Rebels and Ahsoka. They do the same scene. Ahsoka comes, finds Sabine, and then they go at that mural, and then they go off.
Yes.
So
a mural that looks just like the animated character.
Yeah.
Yes, which I like. I like that they did that. It's a nod to the animated series. I liked it.
Have you watched the video though of those two together? Those scenes together. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it's neat to see that. So.
Yeah. The only major difference is that in the animated, I think Sabine puts on her helmet as they walk off, and in Ahsoka, she doesn't put on a helmet. And Ahsoka has a big staff in the animated version, which nobody knew what the staff was for. Everyone's like, "What's that staff for?"
She's getting old.
Yeah.
You gotta have a staff. If you're gonna teach someone, you gotta have a staff.
So that's where that's how Ahsoka's is continuing that story. Some people are calling it the next season of Rebels, pretty much. Just sort of
it is, yeah.
But the beginning of episode 1, Ahsoka is going to find a map that will hopefully lead to Thrawn.
Yeah.
There's always a map.
I know.
There's a map to Luke Skywalker.
I know. I like the show, but it's another one that's like, who out there in this galaxy are making these maps? Where all these people are.
We sort of find out that the map originally wasn't to lead to Thrawn, but it's a map for how to get to these other galaxies. So it's a map showing the hyperspace lanes that these Purgles use to get to other galaxies. So it's showing other galaxies, not necessarily X marks the spot where Thrawn is, but it's showing how to get to the other galaxy. So that's why it's there. That's why they lead you really, but it was put there long ago. We find out that Morgan, who was in The Mandalorian when we first see Ahsoka in live action, is a Night Sister, which is really cool that they brought that in. So she sort of knows about this map and knows at least these other galaxies. The Night Sister lore is very cool, but we can't really get into all that here, but it's really cool. So you can check that out. So that's this map. It sort of looks like this if you're watching. Oh wait, is that a kyber crystal that looks like the map from Ahsoka? Yes, it is, because I made it, and you can find it at iamGEEKshow on Etsy. There we go. It works with your Savi's lightsaber.
Shocking.
Back to your regular scheduled program.
So they find the map, or she finds the map. She takes it, and then Hera basically goes, "You know who could probably open that map?" It's very convenient. Sabine.
Wow. Fancy that.
And Sabine
she's the girl from that show.
She's basically living alone on Lothal, which is two other characters from Rebels that you meet on Lothal. It's the guy in charge of Lothal. And the kid that Ezra basically was in like Empire training school with or whatever. So that's cool. A little throwback to them. It was I always say it's the guy from Pet Sematary.
Clancy Brown.
Is
the actor, and he reprises his role from Rebels. I don't know if the other guy reprised his role. I kind of doubt it.
Probably not.
But Clancy Brown reprises his role.
So that is sort of what this show's about. It's trying to find Thrawn so they can find Ezra. So we have the bad guys, which are Morgan and Baylan and Shin and this weird, mysterious person called Merrick who's with them. That's all in black, who was a inquisitor for the Empire, but now the Empire's fallen, so he's joining up with these mercenaries. He's got his black outfit on, but it's rusted, sort of. So it looks like it's old. And Baylan and Shin. Baylan used to be a Jedi, we found out.
Yes. Very broad-shouldered.
Yeah. And it's sort of cool. Baylan and Shin have like orange lightsabers, which is sort of cool. And then Merrick has the red Inquisitor lightsaber. So it's sort of cool that they brought in orange lightsabers for live action.
Yeah.
Even it's sort of like a reddish orange, but
hadn't quite got red yet. It's getting there.
Yeah, Filoni said he chose to do that on purpose for some reason. So it's sort of cool. So we don't know who Merrick is. He's appeared a couple of times.
It's Merrick.
Merrick, which means if you look it up, it's an old story about a medieval fallen knight that turns into a werewolf. So some people are like, ooh, could it be Ezra? Because he was very close with the Loth wolves. So wolves, werewolf, blah, blah, blah. So that's one theory, that this is Ezra. But then some people are like, but he's supposed to be in another galaxy, so how could he be back here? Some people are like, well, maybe it's an evil clone of Ezra, which I really hope it's not.
Yeah, dude.
Like, please don't.
That'd be bad.
When they encounter the Purgles in space, you see him stop and sort of like turn his head like he's remembering the Purgles somehow. So that's sort of weird. There is in the credits of the first one, you see the name of, I always pronounce his name wrong.
Sam Witwer. So people are like, could it be Starkiller? Which is a character from an old video game, Star Wars video game, Star Wars Unleashed 1 and 2. He was sort of Vader's secret apprentice. So that would be cool
to see him in live action, but it would be sort of weird to see him
Yeah.
in Ahsoka.
Where do you come from?
Maybe it's finally that crossover between Star Wars and Marvel, and it's Werewolf by Night.
Maybe. Probably not.
No.
And then some people are theorizing that it could be Barriss, who turned on Ahsoka. She was a Jedi that turned on Ahsoka. So that would make Merrick not a guy, but a girl. Which, I mean, Merrick's could be.
I've known many Merricks that are boys and many Merricks that are girls. So, I mean, it's a very fluid name. Like, it can go either way. Like
Pat.
Or Susan.
Or Susan.
Terry.
So, yeah, pretty much. But I've loved the show. I've loved seeing these characters in live action. But the two characters that have sort of stolen the show for me, which we can talk about more stuff, have been Hu Yang, the droid that is played by voiced by David Tennant, and he voiced it in. I had a brain.
Is he French now? I thought he was Scottish.
Like, if I've been pronouncing this wrong the whole time,
David Tennant. I don't know.
David Tennant.
I looked down. I don't know why I said it like that. David Tennant.
He was Doctor Who.
I know. And I was a big
Is it Doctor what?
I was a big Doctor Who fan. So I feel shamed. I don't know why I said that. It's how you pronounce it in France, I guess.
Yes.
I just came from Paris, Texas. David Tennant, he voiced it in the animated series too.
Yes.
So I've loved that character because not just because it's David Tennant, but that it's the droid is still sort of stuck in his old Jedi training ways. So he's not quite the C-3PO of the show, but he's sort of in that like, well, this is what you're supposed to do, and he goes, but I guess you're different. And then he comes out like Ahsoka's like, do you think Sabine can be trained? He's like, no. He's like,
worst candidate I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But isn't he like the oldest droid of the ones we've seen? I guess like he's really old. I think I read that somewhere that he's
probably
older than C-3PO.
Seems like it. Yeah, it would be. Yeah,
because he was part of the training the Jedi. So yeah. But it's cool. They have some cool scenes with him. But yeah, his banter has been
25,000 BBY, making him the oldest being in Star Wars.
Well, there we go.
Ooh.
Still plugged along.
And by the way, the effects in this have been really great. I mean, with the droid, with all of like the fighting in space, like all that stuff. Like it's been really nice. They put some money into this.
They went all out on this one. Yeah. When we saw the first season of Mandalorian, we kind of said the same thing, right? This is the best series ever. Like the first season of Mandalorian is really good.
Oh yeah.
And it went downhill. I mean, it's still great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. it just wasn't as good as that first season, and that's kind of what this feels like too. But it was like, you kind of worry about it. It's like, oh, is it going to keep it up? How long is it going to go? But yeah, that first season was awesome. Like it was nothing we'd ever seen before in a show, I guess, really, and movie quality, right? And that's what we're seeing here. But this seems even bigger, right?
It does.
The kind of things they're doing here is just better than anything they've put out in a while. It's at least 5 years almost, I guess, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then my other favorite character, or the character that's stolen the show, not so that has been live action Chopper. He's only been on the episodes for like, I don't know, a minute or two, but every time he's on screen, it's like, that's the mass murderer that I love. Because he's killed more people in Star Wars than anybody else. But they made it where I think Filoni does his voice.
Yeah, he does.
Sure. But they made it in the live action where you can pretty much understand what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah, that was a little weird for me.
Yeah, but it was sort of funny because, especially if they're introducing people to the character, like they didn't know, so understanding him sort of helps them, because Hera's flying with him, and she wants him to put a tracker on this ship that they're trying to track that stole these hyperspace engines. Which we can get into that in a minute. And he says, "Why don't you just shoot it down?" And she goes, "There's so many civilians down there. We can't do that." And he's like, "So what?" Like, it's okay. Just kill them all. So it's like, oh yeah, that's the chopper we love. They kept him just like as crazy as ever. So yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah,
that's true about a lot of droids, right? That we see. There's some that are kind of on the fringes of droids, that there's protocol droids that you see and they're nice and they follow orders. But then the ones that are the main characters, they're all sarcastic, and have these really great personalities. And I'm glad they keep that throughout all of this. But so yeah.
One of the interesting things that I found out about the show is that how many, and we've seen this sort of in, I think, some of the other shows, the Empire sympathizers that the New Republic have basically hired on to work in these pivotal or these roles that, like, building hyperspace engines and stuff. And it's like, they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, we'll just leave them alone. They'll build their engines. They'll give them to us. No big deal. Well, we find out that basically all of these sympathizers are still sympathizing, and they're building these engines to go find Thrawn.
Yeah. Which we kind of saw in Mandalorian in that random episode too. Jenny thought, my wife thought that when they were going to that shipyard or whatever, like, she was like, "Oh, are we finally going to go back to that, like, thing in Mandalorian that, like, went nowhere? Is that what's happening now?" I was like, "I don't know, maybe." Nope.
But I found it funny that even after that, when Hera meets with the senators, they're like, it's no big deal. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's a whole train in episode 3. There was a whole training of Sabine where Ahsoka tells her that you're going to do it blindfolded, just like we see Luke do. And they even call it, and I forget the name they called it, but basically what they called this kind of training, it harkens back to this movie series about this blind samurai. And a lot of stuff that Lucas did was take stuff from samurai movies. So that was pretty cool. There's a lot of callbacks with Sabine and Luke, like when she's going into the gun turret, call back to her and Luke. So it's really cool. I think what I've liked about this show, and we're only 3 episodes in, so it could all change. Who knows? But so far, what I've really liked is it's felt like the original trilogy to me. It's felt like watching another part of the original trilogy. That kind of style, that kind of feel, which makes sense because who's in charge of it? Someone who worked closely by Lucas for so many years. But it doesn't feel like Mandalorian or the sequels or Andor, that kind of stuff. It feels like part of the original trilogy, like that style. And I've really loved that. It's so cool. Like, I feel like even with right now, my son hasn't seen Mandalorian or Andor or anything like that, because I'm like, there's some stuff in there I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if he's old enough for. But so far for Ahsoka, I'm like, he could watch this. It's like watching the original trilogy. There's nothing like, shock value. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Next episode, everyone dies.
Everyone is beheaded. Yeah. But he's watched Rebels.
Cut in half.
Yeah, so he's watched Rebels, so I'm like, he would know all these characters, so that would be cool. So I may start letting him watch that. But yeah, so it's felt really original trilogy, which is my favorite, and Rebels in one sort of combined. So I really like that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
I think so. I think it's, they didn't try to be too high tech with it, and that's maybe where the new movies it looked too advanced.
Yeah.
Where this seems really low tech in some ways with the technology we see, like the little scanner thing that she's got, that's a video game or whatever that that she uses. You know, it's like super cool. It's very digital. You know, that you think of like all these little dots on there, right? It's it's super cool. But yeah, there's nothing again too high tech, because that's been the whole thing with the Rebel Alliance or whatever, is they're bringing all these things in that they find and not able to afford all these grand things, which they still don't in the newer movies, right? But it's still, again, doesn't seem like this overly high tech world.
I've been enjoying it. I like the show. I have a little bit of a gripe, I guess.
No, not here.
I'll bring it down a little bit.
Yes.
But
down to earth.
It's I like the story. I like the actors. I like the characters. They need to work on their editing. There are just some shots that just go on forever for no reason. They'll just someone will say something and then they'll just linger on them. just a little too long. And it's just I feel like that first episode, it's an hour. They might have been able to cut it down to 30 minutes.
That's right. They wanted to make it long enough. So how can we stretch this out? Well, just leave it on there for a second.
Yeah. And the first episode is the worst of them for doing this. It's just, I don't know what it is, but they're just let's focus on them. When Sabine is trying to figure out the sphere, there's a shot of her that she picks it up from the table, walks over, and just stands there and just stares at it.
Yeah, it's very.
And I'm pretty sure for 5 minutes, there's no dialogue, nothing. Their facial expression is not really changing that much, and then she's just saying faces.
Yeah,
it's real. Come on,
3.
It's just like real life, buddy.
No, but not
everybody's as smart as you, Chris. Come on.
No, there's a way to do that. And still get that across that that she's thinking without just staring at her for 5 minutes and just blankly, camera not moving. And it was a little bit of that with the training with the mask.
Don't mess with the mask.
It was just it kept a similar pace throughout it all, and it kept long shots on it, where I feel like you could have put the audience in Sabine's place, where if it starts off like that, it's kind of slow, because they did it a little bit where she's talking, it almost seems like you hear her behind her, and then suddenly she's behind Sabine, stuff like that, and build that into it where the camera starts to have more cuts moving around, and you don't know, you as an audience don't know where Ahsoka is. And it builds that scene a little bit more. It felt a little dry. There's some of that. It's just a little dry to me.
It was a boat episode for you.
No,
No.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. No, I just feel like the editing and what's weird to me, because it's not like that in Rebels, and it hasn't been like that on any other Star Wars show.
Sure.
It's just this one for some reason.
They're really proud of how they were able to take these characters and make them into real people. It's see, it looks like her. It really looks like her.
Part of me wonders that. It's
we want you to really
waiting to see them in live action.
Yes.
We can't really do this in 3D because we'd have to animate them slowly moving in place. But we can do it here, so we're just gonna watch them.
After watching Avatar Way of Water, nothing feels drawn out.
Everything seems.
Did you not get that?
No, that's very, very similar, very same. Yeah.
Because I watched it not too long ago, so it didn't feel drawn out to me, because I watched that for 3.5 hours. That was way drawn out, so it didn't feel drawn out to me. But maybe just because I really like these characters, and to me, it's ooh, yeah, let's Let's just sit with these characters. Let's just sit. Let's sit in it with it. Just take it all in. Just take it in.
Soak it
in.
in.
It's just the film guy in me. I don't know.
Soak it in.
Soak it in.
Like I said, there. Like I mean, I'll be honest. Like there were some episodes of Andor where I felt like that.
Sure.
And like we haven't finished Andor because of some of that. Because just, it felt.
But I didn't feel like that for this.
It's just, and it's not throughout the whole episode. It's just these certain little scenes, and it was the same when they like land the ship on the planet, and they're like, "Okay, let's be quiet, turn everything off," and they just sit there for a long period of time. It's just like, we get the point.
Yeah. maybe people aren't as quick as you,
show the villains a little bit more or something. I don't know.
It makes it easier to watch while you're doing other things, though.
That's true. You could so like there could be someone says something, a long shot. You can go do the dishes, take out the trash, take care of the cat litter, come back, and the shot will just be ending.
Perfect.
Done. It's like those intermissions they used to have in movies. So it's like, hey, you need to go to a concession stand? Here's the moment. Like, go do it.
Here's the moment.
It's okay. It's okay, Ahsoka. He doesn't mean it. It's okay. He doesn't mean it.
I like the show. It's a good show.
It's a very.
I'm just saying, just trim a little. Just trim a little.
Just trim a little.
That's why you have the fast forward button. You have the fast forward button. You just be like,
fast forward 5 minutes. Okay, we're done with that. Next scene.
Now we didn't talk about one character. I can't believe we forgot to talk about this character. Sabine's pet. Her pet loath cat.
Oh, yeah. Adorable.
Taking the internet by storm. But what I liked about this is it wasn't CGI. They made a loath cat. Mm-hmm. So when you see her petting the loath cat, she's actually petting. I mean, not like a real loath cat.
They genetically engineered a loath cat.
Yeah. But it's not like she's not petting a tennis ball. She's petting the loath cat. So I thought that was really cool that they went that way and they made a practical loath cat. Which loath cats are cool. And they're found in Rebels a lot. And we've seen them in The Mandalorian. But the question is, since Sabine's going off on this journey, who's going to feed the loath cat? I mean, who's going to open up that Tupperware container, which it was a Tupperware container. She used an old Tupperware container from like the 70s.
The scoop, yeah.
And the scoop. Who's going to feed the poor loath cat?
Well, I think she just threw her Pokeball and
she's with her, yeah. That's what the happens, map thing is, really. It's
that's what the map. It's loath cat. I choose you. And
loath cat.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. I liked how they used the loath cat to sort of make her realize that there was these evil droids behind her, and
I was worried for the loath cat there for a little bit.
I was too.
I was like, oh, don't kill the loath cat.
Yeah, there's so many cool scenes in it, even though some of them are drawn out.
The fight scenes are amazing. I love the fight scenes.
Oh yes, like when she goes to when she goes back to Sabine's place to try to find stuff after Sabine's been. Oh, we haven't talked about that. After Sabine's been stabbed.
Oh man.
By a lightsaber.
Her tiny frame with the lightsaber right through it, and she's fine.
Well, people are like, well, poor Qui-Gon. Well, Qui-Gon got stabbed through the middle of the chest, abdomen area.
Yeah, she just got her gallbladder taken out. So
hers is the side, so it's fine. She's fine.
So to me, it was the like I kind of in my head, I'm like, well, he got stabbed and he didn't have anyone to get him into surgery or anything to help him. He was just there, and then he died.
Yeah.
Sabine, she was right there, rushed her to like the hospital or whatever, and they can save them now or whatever. But there's still like Darth Maul, they got cut in half and he survived. So that kind of blows out of the way. So
but here's the thing. Because one thing we forget about a lightsaber, because how it works, when it goes through something or someone, it cauterizes it, that wound.
Sure.
So when it goes through the middle of Qui-Gon, we're going to get into CSI stuff here or something. It cauterizes that main artery, so no blood can go up or down anywhere. There's no blood that can go anywhere. It's just stuck. So that would mean pretty much immediate death because the blood there's no blood going anywhere. Maul gets cut in half, so all the main stuff where the blood needs to go,
well,
is
he's
up there,
an alien,
and it's cauterized at the bottom. So there's he's not bleeding. In other words, you're not going to bleed out from a lightsaber wound because it cauterizes. So Maul gets cut in half. All the important stuff that we know of, because he's an alien, we don't know where this stuff could be.
Yeah,
but that we know of as far as anatomy would be still working. And as far as Sabine, all the important stuff would still be working. So that sort of shuts down the whole world. Why couldn't Qui-Gon live?
And plot-wise, Qui-Gon has to die, and they don't. So.
Yeah. But from the medical standpoint, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV. But that's sort of how it works. Cauterize one area, it's going to kill you. Cauterize another area, you're not going to bleed out. You're probably going to survive. And she got to the hospital pretty fast.
Just like Darth Vader did.
Yeah.
Or Mulan in Mandalorian.
We were watching Revenge of the Sith the other night, and I was just like, man, that is a good thing he was nearby and picked him up, because he was just about over crisp, so good thing.
Chris, have you had a favorite fight scene? You mentioned the fight scenes.
I love the one between Ahsoka and was it Merrick?
Yes.
That one was amazing. Especially like the very end of it where he lights up both sides of the lightsaber and throws it.
Yeah.
He runs up on the ship and then it just recalls it and she just sidesteps it just a little bit as it shoots past her.
Yeah.
I love that. Cool. That was amazing.
Yeah. Which that fight scene sort of gave us a hint that maybe Merrick has some kind of past with Ahsoka, because there was a moment in that fight scene where he could have went forward and basically almost killed her, but he held back. There was a moment where he, unalived her. Let's stay on. That's what the kids are saying online these days. There was a moment where he could have advanced, but he held back, and it was like, oh, that's weird. Because wouldn't you be trying to get rid of Ahsoka and you'd hold back? But I think
the series would be over too. So
yeah. I think even if he had pursued, she would still like.
Well, she's dead. That's in.
Yeah.
Dang it, Merrick.
Yeah, that fight scene was really cool.
The next episode that's just called Merrick.
Yeah. I like the Sabine and Shin fight.
Yeah, that was good.
That one was really good, and it showed that Sabine's a little rusty. Because especially for people that know that she used to train with the Darksaber, but now she's rusty from that.
There was the battle with the droids when she was looking for the map.
Yes,
the droids,
and that was pretty cool too. Kind of lured them all down into that hole, and
yes.
So.
Even the firefight, the space fight with the.
That's what I was asking. What'd you think of the space fight where she's outside the ship?
Yeah, I was nervous, and then she came out in a space suit, and I was like, okay, good.
Yeah,
I was nervous. Space works, but yeah, it's fine.
I was like, oh no!
Jumped off the ship. She just keep going. I guess she could use the Force to force herself back.
I was worried it was going to be Last Jedi Princess Leia.
Right.
She was just going to float out like Supergirl or something.
Yeah. I was like, she's just like, now come get me.
I wonder if they knew that going in. They're like, people are going to think it. Let's make them think it.
But then I was like, man, she got in that spacesuit fast.
Well, She is a Jedi.
It's very and form fits all around her head.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Yeah.
But I thought that was sort of cool. I thought that scene was sort of cool.
Yeah.
She's like flipping over ships, cutting them in half. Yeah. And then she starts floating away, and they're like, she's like, "Can you come get me now?"
That ship was pretty neat. Is that the same ship that's in the Rebels series, or
That's Ahsoka's ship.
Yeah. So it's in
she
Rebels.
had that. She had that in Rebels, I think, or at least part of Rebels.
I think so. Maybe at least the end. Where
I know it was definitely at the end scene of Rebels. That was the ship she came out on. But yeah, that ship's cool.
Yeah, how the I guess the body can be still and the wings or whatever go around. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked it. All right, so let's what are your predictions? We'll do some predictions like we did on the last show that we did.
Sabine's a Skrull.
Yeah, that's what I figured. What's your predictions for the rest of this season? It doesn't have to be everything. It could be one thing.
We got to see Thrawn soon, right? That's the payoff of this show for
3
a lot of
episodes
people.
left.
It's like, he's got to be soon. I really hope so.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna set up a second season.
Yeah,
like I just there's no way in 3 episodes. I feel like it'll be very rushed if they wrap it up in 3 episodes. It's just like we found him, we captured him, we're done.
And then you see Ezra background or something.
I don't think it's going to be the end of Thrawn's story because that's a big character that they could do a lot with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in the trailer, I'm pretty sure we see him on that ship, that Morgan ship that's in the ring.
Captain Morgan.
I think that's where we see him. Or the back of him anyways. So maybe the next, I don't know. They may wait.
See, I feel like the next episode we're not going to see him because I think the next episode is them going to be getting the ship ready to jump into hyperspace to go where they're going to go, and then Ahsoka and them trying to stop them or get onto the ship to go with them.
But they could though show him in some undisclosed place, but you see him for some reason. I don't know, but maybe not.
maybe the ship will just jump in hyperspace, then 5 seconds later it'll jump back and like, we have him, and there he is. We found him.
I think if we don't see him and or Ezra, especially Ezra, by the next episode, then we could pretty much say Merrick is Ezra, probably. If we don't see Ezra for like the next episode, but we see Merrick, it's probably like, that's got to be Ezra, because why would they wait till the very, very end?
Kind of hoping it's not going to be Ezra though.
I hope so.
I'd rather it be Ahsoka's friend that came back.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think they need to do something with Ezra and something with Thrawn.
Yeah,
pretty soon. But I don't know if they will.
It's going to be the end of was it the Force Awakens or whatever? Luke's there.
Maybe this season, maybe
standing in the distance.
this season maybe Ahsoka Sabine
maybe
story building for them.
And then Sabine walks up to Ezra and hands him the lightsaber. It's his. And then at the start of the next season, he'll toss it over his shoulder.
They're not going to do that again. They learned their lesson on that.
I don't know. The plot's a little similar. Gotta find this thing to find our friend.
I know. We'll see. But this came first because
now isn't Hayden Christensen supposed to be in here? Are there going to be flashbacks or something? So maybe next week is a flashback.
Next week, flashback episode,
and it's going to be a flashback of Thrawn and Anakin and all these people that we are waiting to see. It'd be a good time for
it. Yeah, it starts. Fourth episode, flashback. FF. Fourth flash. There we go. Catron's called it.
Or it could be just suddenly we're on Coruscant following around these guys that we don't know anything. Or maybe it's a Mandalorian episode. Is there going to be a Mandalorian episode in this one?
There could be.
I hope not.
4.5.
Just shoot over to Mandalorian.
3.5.
Like if there was more episodes, I'd be like, maybe throw in one. But since there's only 6 episodes, oh gosh, it's too few. But I've really enjoyed it, so we'll leave that. We'll talk more the next time we meet up. We'll have 2 more episodes, right, to talk about.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So there we go. So far, love it. We'll see how it plays out. Will it be my favorite Star Wars show ever made, or will it fizzle out? We won't know. So 3 more episodes. Dun. Do you think they'll end it? Yeah. Do you think they'll end it on a cliffhanger, or do you think they'll wrap stuff up?
I don't think they're wrapping stuff up in this.
Yeah. Katie's like, I don't know.
It's going to lead into big crossover between Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and Boba Fett.
There is a movie, yeah.
That's true.
Do you think the movie? Do you think Thrawn will be the villain of that movie?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a good chance.
I don't know when that's supposed to happen.
I don't know.
Do you think Grogu's going to show up in Ahsoka?
No. Please no. I love Grogu, but there's no place for him here.
He's showing up for some chicken nuggies and then going away.
I just want my Rebels characters. I don't need anybody else for this show.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take more Chopper. Give me more Chopper.
Mm-hmm.
But he's back on the ship with Jason.
Zeb.
Yep.
Yeah, Zeb would be good. We may not see. I mean, I guess we'll see Hera a little more. We're probably just going to see Sabine, Ahsoka, and Hu Gang, and that will be the main focus for the heroes, with a little Hera thrown in.
Mm-hmm. Can't go wrong with a little bit of Hera.
Yeah. Who's married to Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? In real life?
Yeah, in real life she is, yeah. She's married to Sir Alec Guinness. It's weird. I think he was around anymore.
Wow. Anyways, all right. I've loved it. Thank you for joining us on iamGEEK. I guess we'll wrap it up here. Until next time, this has been episode 281, and we'll be back with more Ahsoka talk next time on iamGEEK.
Bye-bye.